Hello everyone, welcome back to another Friday and another casual champion review. For real this time, because we went over Mbessa surprisingly last week. But now it's that's the wrong dog. There we go. It's Naafiri time this week. This will also be the fourth game I have played of Naafiri for this casual champion review because, whoo boy, League of Legends players don't give up at the slightest inconvenience challenge. Impossible. Because of that, I've also played quite a bit of Naafiri already, and kind of a lot of thoughts that I've had about this champion have resurfaced and formed properly. So I'll explain what in the hecking frick is going on? And I survived this. You thought I was going to cut to my death, didn't you? You know what you did think that was going to happen? Fan art section, yes, look at all the... There's a second page here, but I did want to choose these ones first, because... My most favorite ones, you fellows of Serbia, have been the ones drawing me or my characters as or with the champion. It just brings me so much joy. There's some really funny ones in here too. There's some memes, and there's one that's like an actual just dog, full of dog. One with the redesign of Nicky Girl I did. There's some great stuff in there. I love it so much. But there's also, even though those are my favorites, there's a few that were just drawing Naafiri and certain dog memes, and you know I'll let that slide. Just this one time. They're all amazing, though. Thank you, fellas, so much. It makes my day. Also, Snake Plushie, we're almost done. 10 days left, and we're almost there. We're almost 200. We gotta get 200, else won't be made. Video. Weakling ADC. You know what? That's okay. She had both summoners up anyway. I don't even know if my blade would have killed. Let's just pretend like it wasn't going to kill no matter what happened. You little rat bitch. But because I've already played quite a bit of Naafiri, I've had time to formulate my opinions on her a bit more. Because this is technically the first time I've played Naafiri in almost a year. I haven't played her since I did for the season 2023 rewind. And back then I had a lot more of a positive outlook on her. Still a lot of negative gripes. But those negative gripes have since festered. Kind of like Belveth. I'd sort of gaslit myself into thinking that I had to love this champion because she was the monster I've wanted for so long, right? And then Smolder came out and like, well, this one's the monster I've always wanted, right? And then, no, but now Skarner's here and I have a real monster that I do really like. And I just go back to Naafiri and think, man, yeah. So real quickly, we'll just try and go over her lore because there isn't a whole lot to it. Because just like all the other Darkins, she was once a Shuriman Ascended. More notably though, she was apparently one of the most powerful of the Shuriman Ascended, sought to be in a real leadership role to lead the Darkin into a new era. But it was that pride that ultimately was her undoing, as she was tricked by Maisha, the current aspect of Twilight at the current moment, and imprisoned in one of her throwing daggers. And that dagger was then imprisoned even more so and sealed away in a crypt underneath Shurima, and she's left there for centuries to wallow in her own sorrow of her failure and her shame for letting down her Darkin brothers and sisters. But then all those centuries later, a mysterious grave robber appears to try and take the Darkin dagger for himself. And Naafiri is jumping for joy. Theoretically, she's still in a dagger, but she's like, oh my gosh, finally, yes, a host, I can escape. But unfortunately, the grave robber knows about the Darkin magic. Somehow, I don't know how that was ever explained. Do people just see Aatrox kill people and then the body gives out and then he comes? I don't think a lot of thought went into the Darkin aspect of her. But the man paid special care to not make contact with the dagger, picking up with tongs and wrapping it in cloth. No living being can make contact with the weapon physically, and so they won't get corrupted. So trekking across the desert in an absolute vent of frustration of just trying to get a host, she senses a nearby pack of Doonhounds, which Darkin can just sense things nearby when they're in the weapon. We've seen Aatrox and Ross do that too. And she calls out to them to bring them to the grave robber, and it works. They arrive and tear the grave robber and his horse to pieces. But unfortunately, that apparently wasn't enough food. So they all collectively try and eat the dagger as well. Why they would, But because of that, all those dogs collectively biting the dagger, it shattered Naafiri's mind and split her consciousness across the entire pack of Doonhounds. In an almost ironic sense, her desperation for a host had landed her dozens. And initially, she absolutely despised this. She wanted to at least have a human host, something powerful to try and gain that splendorous form she once had. And now she's just stuck with a pack of dogs. I like to think, because we don't know anything about how she was before, I like to think that Naafiri's actual ascended form was a cat of some kind, because a cat, a literal cat person in this sense, becoming a bunch of dogs, that's just a bit of comedic irony. But she did kind of realize through enlightenment that these dogs were not just a bunch of savage animals only. They were a collective. Individually, they would starve, but together they became an apex predator. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Ow! An apex predator of the desert. She realized these dogs had no individuality. There was nothing special about any one of them. They all worked collectively, and together they were nearly unstoppable. All as a collective hive mind, a collective consciousness, they could do anything. And Naafiri realized, wait, fish, ants, birds? Speaking of birds, dogs eat birds, I think, right? Dogs eat birds. But not just animals. Humans, and especially Darkin, are also very social creatures. And she realized all those petty squabbles the Darkin had that divided them could all be solved. If they acted as one, as a single unified force, nothing could stop them. She could lead them, teach them the ways of the pack, and lead the Darkin into a new age to become the rightful rulers of Runeterra. And so now that is where she's going. She's just traveling across Shurima, even though most of the Darkin are not in Shurima, trying to find the remaining Darkin to unite them together so that they can rule the world together. And that's it. That's all we got. There's no color story, no canonical champion interactions, there's nothing. Naafiri, I think, is one of the few characters in the entirety of the League mythos that could be entirely written out of it, and there would be zero impact. I don't think that's inherently an awful thing. Not every character has to be the absolute most amazing main character that's ever existed. I think that makes the champion roster a bit cluttered in that way, but they do try and paint Naafiri as this super important main character. Like, they just name drop that she is apparently one of the most powerful Darkin that's ever existed, a natural born leader. It's okay. Where? With Aatrox, we get to see him slaughtering entire civilizations, killing the aspect of war. Zolani, we get to see her subjugating all the Darkin. Those are the actual most powerful Darkin we know of, and we get to see them express that power constantly. But because Naafiri didn't really get much of anything, all that Naafiri is the most powerful Darkin, or one of the most powerful Darkin, just feels like a complete empty statement. That's also a really weird part, because Zolani, now that I think about it even more so, Naafiri's whole goal and whole characterization is almost the exact same as Zolani. Both of them are supposedly one of the most powerful Darkin to have ever existed, were also tricked by Maisha into being imprisoned within their weapon, believe they are rightful rulers and leaders of the Darkin, and now use those new Darkin powers to try and unite the world through assimilation. But Zolani's so much cooler though. I don't think she just, not even just design-wise, but she has an actual backstory and motivation, because Zolani was once a healer. She was once the kindest and nicest of all of the Ascended Warriors, used to heal everyone's wounds, and then she got transformed into this horrible being, seeing the wars, the Darkin Wars, void everything, believing the world is impure and chaotic. I can save it by assimilating everybody. Everyone will be me, and there will be no more war. And to me, I find that so much more compelling than, oh, dog is dog, and dog, like hunt together. We good hunt together if we do it together. Please, oh, please. I can't do it. Oh, I can do it now. I can win this. The crazy thing about that, just yoinking another champion's entire backstory, the fact that her motivation seems completely unwarranted, no connections to any of the other Darkin. It almost feels like she wasn't supposed to be a Darkin at all. And you'd be right. That's not speculation either. If you look at the official concept art and dev insights, it says clear as day. Riot outright confirms that they wanted to make Naafiri an easy assassin and a proper dog champion first and foremost. I'm probably paraphrasing a bit here, but I'll probably put the quote up on screen. But it goes along the lines of, yeah, we wanted to make a dog character, but we didn't really know where to fit it. We tried Noxus and Demacia and Targon, all these things, but they didn't really work out. But eventually we land on the idea of a demon dog, and then they want us to scale back the whole demon dog idea. And so we eventually landed on making her a Darkin. Yeah, it really does feel like the whole Darkin thing was an afterthought. And that's disappointing, because Naafiri was supposed to be our first Darkin since the retcon, because Rost was designed in 2017, back when they were still aliens. And so you want to make a Darkin, you want to make it badass, and then it's just like, he's a good doggy. This animation's really good, okay? I'll be very critical. You bastard, I was petting the doggo. What? All right, back to business. Let me do the pet animation, god damn it. This is so good. I don't really like how much they made her this kind of cutesy, jokey character, but oh my goodness, yes. We now pet the dog in League of Legends. But you can see clear as day in her animations, her dev insights, the clear focus of making Naafiri was we wanted to make a funny, doggo champion. That was the priority. The whole Darkin aspect was just something that was thought up later down the line. It's especially evident as well with the fact that she got no color story, no expansion on her interactions with the other Darkin. But it's also because her lore was retconned within a week of her releasing. As you guys don't remember, in her original bio, it stated the reason that all the Dune Hounds encompass her entire physical being, that she has multiple hosts instead of just one, is because the Darkin dogs, or I guess the Dune Hounds at this point, tore the dagger to pieces, which no. Celestials and their all-powerful magic can't destroy the weapons, but apparently just a pack of random dogs could. Like, okay. It's just every aspect about Naafiri just read as, yeah, we never wanted to make a Darkin in the first place. We just want to make a funny doggy. And if you want to do that, that's totally fine. Like I said, I don't have a problem with making a champion that doesn't have a massive amount of significance to the lore. If you just want to make a character based on pure thematic fantasy, then go for it. But don't try and shoehorn importance, try to paint her as this absolutely badass, brand new Darkin we haven't gotten in ages, and then just make her this elastic, stretchy dog thing that's nothing but jokes and memes and pet the dog, scratch it behind her ears and chase it her own tail and digging for a bone. And it's like, I can't take her seriously, especially when you say, well, she's one of the most powerful Darkin in the world. She's just a dog. You guys ever seen the Dumbs video with Naafiri? That was the thumbnail, just happened in real time right there. I want to do a little test right now. If we look at all her animations, that's the dance. Very silly and goofy. Her neck's very long for some reason. Her laugh, rolling on their back, taunt, digging for a bone, chasing her tail. What's scary? It's silly, goofy, I'm doggy. And again, I don't have a problem with doing that. I just think it should have been used on another character. You just want to make a Noxian hound or a Targonian. Look at the Targonian dogs. Have you seen those things? I would have rather that. This character has no significance. It's just a silly dog because we wanted to make a silly dog. Okay, awesome. It just feels like if that's the clear direction you want to go, then why are you trying to plaster this as, here's our first actual monster champion in years? No! Jack would shoot a puppy in the face, actually. I just think if they wanted to make a dog, make it cute, do all that stuff. Do what you clearly wanted to do. Just don't try and hijack the first monster champion we would have had in over half a decade, and same with our actual first Darkin champion post-retcon. It just leaves a sour taste in my mouth that I can't get rid of, and it stains Naafiri for me. It's just as it kind of went on, and as we got other champions like Smolder, which is incredibly cutesy, they didn't try to make, again, example there, practically no importance at all. Just a cutesy dragon because they want to make a cutesy dragon. And then you get Skarner, who's actually just this super badass giant monster. There you go. That's the two aspects you wanted to do, and you separate them. You didn't just try and shoehorn in long requested fan suggestions and wants into a different idea that you had that just don't really match together. It was kind of horrible timing as well with all the It was kind of horrible timing as well with all the other LOR Darkin that came out around a similar time span. We got to see so much variance. I'm recreating the thumbnail again. Isn't this fun? Why do I take so long to kill an enchanter with no defensive options? I'm an 8-2 assassin. I'll talk about the pack in a little bit, but I do want to mention some things that I do like about her design that unfortunately her model doesn't convey very well, so I'll put up her concept art. I do very much like the idea of the dagger being literally fused to her face. That's a very cool way to incorporate the Darkin weapon without just having her hold it in its mouth, though I'm sure a lot of people would have really liked that. And keeping the earring attached as well. That's a fun way to show she wasn't always just this dog creature. She did have a bit of humanity to her. It doesn't show it very well in the model, but the whole thing with the daggers, having the markings of the dogs on it, it shows like she has throwing daggers. That was her original weapon of choice. But it's also a fun visual way to signify that she can just spawn more Dune Hounds and she still has those throwing daggers. She doesn't just have one stuck in her head. Oh, and of course I can't not mention the cinematic. The cinematic was basically just kind of a dramatic retelling of her backstory, or her bio I should say. Whoa, there's a syndrome. There's a Ramus. There's a syndrome. It was a very pleasing cinematic to watch, though, I will say. It was really awesome to see those kinds of champion introductions for once. We've had something similar with Briar, though I think she was teased before that cinematic, if I'm remembering correctly. But we don't get those big teasers anymore. Smolder got what? A YouTube short? Aurora didn't get anything? Well, she got a client minigame. That was kind of cool. And then Bessa, she's gotten everything. So I guess my point is moot. The point is, cinematic was absolutely wonderful. It just sucks that if you saw the cinematic, you saw her biography. There's nothing else there. Just find it so silly we don't get to see anything about her. I want to know what she looked like before she was a Darkin. I want to know what she's doing now and what she does to interact with Aatrox and Varus. But no, she might as well not even exist. Melio. Wow, oh, my dog blocked the football. Oh, I missed! Oh, they got him. Well, I suppose this is probably as good a time as any to jump onto her gameplay since I mentioned the dog body blocking the football. Like I said, when Riot was initially designing Naafiri, they wanted to make an easy to play mid lane assassin. I'm just over here thinking, like, did they forget? Wait, what? Oh, that's Nico! Oh, my I had no idea she could do that. Wait, that's hilarious. So Naafiri is supposed to be this super easy to play mid lane assassin, the assassin for babies. And I'm just over here thinking, okay, so Talon, Nocturne, Diana, Yone, like I'd argue Naafiri is actually more difficult than any of those champions. And not because she's mechanically complex. I think by no means she is, but it's because for an assassin, she's so goddamn slow. I've never encountered an assassin that has so many opportunities for you to play around her. All these assassins kind of thrive off of this lack of counterplay. And Naafiri has so much. Oh, please. Oh. I completely forgot that I get a shield when I get a kill. I'd argue Naafiri has so much counterplay built into her kit that it makes her feel incredibly awful as an assassin. Yes, you can still get the pet animation though. If you want to wait for your lethality, not lethality item anymore, just pet the dog. And you'll get 25 gold for free. There, see, now I can afford it. I'm gonna walk you guys through Naafiri's kit real quick, and you can argue with me whether or not you find this too counterplayable. Is that a word? When you ult, you make a big, loud, booming noise. Everybody hears it. Everybody knows Naafiri's on the way, like Rengar ult, except Rengar gets to go invisible when he does that, and also lasts for significantly longer. Her W is her main means of engage because she has no primary means of escape, but her W is basically a solid full second wind up so people can actually try and react to it. It feels like I'm flaming here, but I did in previous games of trying to record these videos also fought a Caitlyn and a Syndra, and you know what they did when I was Wing? Caitlyn netted me, she trapped me, Syndra knocked me back. Like, there's so many easy ways to stop Naafiri. Like, come on, Melio, just Q me. Just Q me. Why did you not Q me? Why did you use it now? I don't mean to flame, but it's just this move is so easily stoppable. And then Naafiri finally does get in and she has to throw out a skill shot. And you think, oh, that's not so bad. But then you realize, oh, that part doesn't do any damage. You then have to wait another full second. I know it says only like half second or something, but the cast time animation takes longer than the cooldown to throw out a second skill shot that then does the actual burst damage. And then your E is your only means of escape. But it also does a big explosion. It's also a primary damage source. So if you use it to do damage, you have no way to get out. You only have ways to get in. And so to me, just any other fed assassin, I'm infinitely more scared of a fed Rengar or Talon or Zed or literally any other assassin besides Naafiri, because I know even if Naafiri is fed, she's gonna take a while to get to me and kill me, and her primary damage source is easily dodgeable and primary engage is easily stoppable. It's just weird. To me, I just don't find her satisfying at all. Even when I'm ahead, she feels so slow and clunky. If I was playing Shadow Kane here, when Shadow Kane's fed, he zooms in, bam, dead. I'm out. Naafiri goes in, takes like 3 seconds to kill her teammate, which a late game AD carry can do to a tank anyways, and it's just not fun. And I think that's also because I think her whole thematic fantasy was just completely botched. And in trying to make her an assassin, you end up losing that part of her kit that would have made her really unique. And that's the whole stuff with the pack. I don't know about you, but I hardly noticed the pack is even a thing. I only ever noticed the dogs are even here because they pick up a random CS for me sometimes, or after the ult animation is finished, I zoom in on my character model to see all the dogs running around. And I remember, oh yeah, that's a whole part of this character, isn't it? Because besides that, you see Naafiri herself do everything, throwing the daggers, doing the ult animation, the wind up, the spin, it all looks like she is the primary target. And that makes sense because thematically that's what she's about, right? It wouldn't make any sense to have the dogs actually be controlled in that way like Yorick or Azir, because she's all about uniformity, the one hive mind, so having them just do things automatically makes sense. But an ironic twist I find, that being so thematically accurate just completely butchers the thematic fantasy she could have. Also because they forced her to be a mid laner instead of being a jungler, where she, oh, hi Naafiri. I'm Naafiri. That's Melio. Naafiri was born to be a jungler. I know why they did it. The whole reasoning is because they're trying to diversify stuff. That's why they reworked or gave little mini reworks to Zed and Talon. They want the edgelords to be playable in the jungle when normally they're just mid lane, or they want this very pretty lady to be a top laner, or they want a cutesy little AD carry like Smolder to be in the bot lane, or a badass evil CEO to be a support. They're trying to diversify it a bit, and because so many monsters are locked to the jungle, they wanted to make one for mid lane, but because of that, they just don't let Naafiri jungle. And all I'm thinking is, man, how cool would have been if instead of making this super nimble assassin, they tried to make a skirmisher built around that pack and assimilation mentality. She doesn't need to be limited to just dogs. She's a Darkin. Go around, corrupt Gromp and take them with you. You can grab the babies from red and blue buff, the void grubs, the mites, anything. Make a big pack of animals you've assimilated. It could have been so awesome. The game seems to be ending anyway, so I guess I'll probably close up my thoughts with one final statement. I really think Naafiri being forced to be a mid laner, just being made to a Darkin last minute, it just squandered all the cool factors she could have had, and I think I'm done gaslighting myself into thinking that I like this champion much like Bel'Veth. If you like her, absolutely more power to you, but for me, I don't think I want to play Naafiri ever again. So thank you for watching this week's Casual Champion Review, everybody. I know it was a bit of a downer one. I didn't have a lot of positive things to say about this character, but if you like Naafiri, absolutely more power to you, and you can tell me why down in the comments below. I am not against differing opinions. But I'll see you next week, everybody, for Nami, another animal thing. So I'm excited for Nami because she's a bit more fun. I have a lot more positive things to say about her and the stuff that surrounds her. Until next time, I'll see you then. Goodbye.